because I think because it's a natural.
Okay, we're gonna get started. Okay. First, thank you all for coming. This is just great. We really appreciate you being here. I'm Tippy McIntosh. I'm co-chair of this anniversary show. Teresa Mayomi is the other co-chair. And our esteemed juror is Steve Griggs. Steve Griggs teaches all over the United States, has several jury national exhibits, and written numerous articles. He is a loose watercolor artist and creates moving and evocative art that people respond to with quite a bit of emotion. He believes it is a fun and powerful way to connect art and humanity. Steve has followed his call to push limits, experiment, and challenge traditional methods. He has said, and this is really cool, he has said he likes to become friends with paint, and he has learned to work with it to achieve lively and energetic paintings. We encourage you to check out his painting displayed here by the front door. The Littleton Fine Arts Guild is honored to have Steve as our juror for this 64th anniversary show. Please welcome our juror, Steve Griggs.
Can I set this here?
Yes.
Just in case I need it. Anyway, thank you so much for the warm welcome and the kind words. Thank you very much. Hi. How are you guys tonight? It was a pleasure to be invited to do this show, an anniversary show. 64th year, right? Do I got that right? You just said it. But how amazing it is that this organization has been here, and I just think about all of the great artists that have come through these doors or been a part of this, and is part of the history of this this group. And here we are tonight, and you're a part of it too. And I'm really joyful that you asked me to be a part of it as well. Art means so much to our community, and the community doesn't really know, I think, most of the time, how much art is critical to us as a species, as a people, and your contribution to this community of Littleton cannot be overstated. So congratulations to all of you. And what a great show this was, or this is. Let me tell you a little bit about how a jury's show before we get into the mechanics of the award presentation and everything. A lot of people ask me, or they want to know. Some of you, I'm looking around the room and I see a lot of familiar faces, so you've heard this before. You can go get something to eat if you'd like. But the way a jury show is, I like to come into the exhibition place, and I like to stand in the center of the space. I like to visually take in the entire space, the entire room. Long before I know whose work it is or what the title of the piece is. And I want to just come in and just visually enjoy each piece circumspectly. So I come into a space like this one, and I will take my time just doing that. And what I'm doing is I'm looking for common C pieces. I'm looking for pieces that off the wall, without any close-up engagement, speak to me and say, come and look at me, come and see, come and enjoy. And then I mark those in my little notebook. So I'll mark that piece over there, that piece over there. And then once I've seen the whole show and taken it in, then I'll go visit each piece, including the pieces that are not on my come and see list. So my come and see list for this show had probably 15 pieces. I don't know how many pieces actually, probably 80-something in the show. How many pieces? I can't remember. I should know. 59. So maybe a third of the pieces were on my list of come and see. But that only means that they had a visual impact on me from a distance. As I walked the space, and maybe you enjoy this about coming to a gallery or coming to a show like this, as you walk the space, there's always these little surprises that jump out at you. It's like, oh, I didn't see that. And I like to take those in and enjoy them. But I try to enjoy the show long before I start looking at the pieces from a juror's point of view. And that makes it very difficult. Now just think about that with me. If there were, say, 15 pieces that were on my come and see list, and we have 6 awards tonight, you know, it makes it interesting at the very least. So when I look at a piece, I have already had an emotional connection. That's what the come and see moment is about. And we want that for our viewers, don't we? We create art and we're trying to communicate a message. Maybe it's an experience, maybe it's a joy for just the medium that we're working in. But we're trying to express something. It's a form of communication and we're trying to say something, share something with the greater community. And we want our viewers to have an experience with our pieces, don't we? So what are the things that make up an experience? Well, first of all, we have a whole compendium of design and organizational principles. Some of them are like the use of rhythm, the use of perspective, the use of color, the use of pattern. Does it have harmony, color harmony? Is there variety in the piece? These are all words I know you know, but those are the mechanics of our art. And those are the framework, the structure that we use to say things. So I'm going to do a lot of talking tonight about these 6 pieces. Well, hopefully not a lot of talking, but some talking tonight about these pieces. And I'll be using words like that: rhythm, harmony, hierarchy of shape, how the artist uses white of the page, things like that. Those are the things that I dive down into as I work through my list. And so eventually I get down to my 6. And I want to say something, because the limitations of awards are that we highlight 6 pieces. But as you just take in the room, there are many pieces that just have sterling qualities about them. And this was a wonderful show to jury for that reason. Beautiful pieces. So shall we get into it? All right, first award tonight goes to, it's an honorable mention, and it goes to Catherine Weinogard. Have I got that name right? That's probably real good. And the piece name is Golden Eye in Spring. It's a photograph right over there. And congratulations, this is a beautiful piece. So let me tell you a little bit about why I chose this piece. Now, before I get into this, I want to say something. Sometimes when I jury a show and I start going through some of this criteria or some of these comments, people will say, I've had artists come up to me and say, well, but I wasn't thinking about that when I did this. I just took the piece or did the drawing or did the painting, whatever. I think there's truth in that, but I think there's also an innateness. If the qualities are in the piece, there's an innate understanding of those qualities. You may not have been thinking about it outright, but you got it in the piece. So just understand that as artists, there's a lot of things going on, subterranean, that happen in our work. But I'll tell you some things that I see in this piece to start with. First of all, when I looked at this piece, I want you to all know, I do not know what a golden eye duck, or is it a duck? Yeah. I did not know what a golden eye duck was. So I learned. So you shared some information with me and you caused some learning for me. But what caught my eye about this piece is a couple of very key things. First of all, I love the shape of the central shape of the duck, but just look at the duck as shapes. So your eye saw those shapes and put that together. I don't know if this is in the actual way you're shooting a photograph or if it's in post-production or whatnot. So some of these qualities you may have developed later in the image, but I love that you saw those shapes, and I love the combination of the darks and the lights within that shape. There's just an interesting pattern to that central piece. But the design of this piece, the way the piece presents, there's a strong golden mean understanding within the visual. Golden mean, what do I mean by that? Basically what I'm talking about is if you divide that visual field up into 6 squares, right? Draw a line across the horizon, and then midline, and then 2 more lines coming down, vertically separating the top part into thirds. So now we have 6 boxes. The golden mean points, mathematically you could calculate this out, you could actually draw it out, but they're going to be in quadrants, 4 quadrants within the 6 shapes piece where they come together. The duck, the central figure of this piece, sits almost directly at one of those points. That's good design. That's understanding the visuals, the visual space, and using that element to put what you want to say right there for the viewer to see. But look at the way the blacks are designed in this piece. Top and bottom, those blacks transcend or give me a word here. Transverse, there's a good one. The top 2 and top 3 and top 3 bottom squares of the golden mean. And then right in the middle of it is that white band that's transiting all of it. It creates thirds, visual thirds. The human eye, and Teresa, I'm going to spend some time talking with you about the way the mind works, but I've read that the human eye or the human mind likes things in thirds or odd numbers. But thirds are you're in pay dirt if you can find ways to organize your space in thirds. And you've done that visually with those 2 darts bracketing that white band that pushes out the central figure of the piece. The blacks actually act as a type of vignette. I'll use that word tonight because there's a couple of pieces that I'm going to award words to that use the idea of vignette. It's a very interesting concept in art. Hardly, you don't see it a lot, or it isn't recognized a lot, maybe I should say it that way. But the dark spaces act as a vignette to push the subject out at me, and that white band just really articulates with texture and tone the main subject. So there's great communication going on there, and that's why I awarded this piece an honorable mention. Okay. All right. Good job. Could you all hear me through that? Okay. I didn't see anybody falling asleep, so I thought maybe you were. Next piece I'd like to talk about is right behind me here. It's a piece by Bobby Shute. Is Bobby here tonight? Have I said the name right? Shute?
Yes.
Anyway, it's right here behind me. It's this mixed media piece. I believe I would even put the word collage in it. This piece I saw from the door as I walked in, and what I love about this piece are several things. First of all, I love the movement of this piece. I love how, I'm not going to be able to do this with all pieces because some of them are not in this room, but I love the way the photographs, the fixed images in the piece move through the space. And I like how isn't she, Bobby?
Yes.
Okay. I like how Bobby broke up the space by tearing up the pieces and making them fragmented. It's called Reflections, and I think it's built on the idea of the visual reflection, but it also kind of kind of speaks to or lends itself to the idea of reflecting. And so when you break up pieces, when I look at this and I see her breaking up information, it harkens me back to how I reflect on things. And sometimes I reflect on times in my life, you know, my childhood, my teens, and where I am today. And those are little snippets or fragments of time, but I reflect on them individually. And when I look at this piece, all these reflecting points are broken up and yet they're unified. Somehow this artist has found a way to unify those little messages visually in her organization. There's great movement in this piece, repetition, the repetition of line created by the visual image, and that's repeated down here in these shapes, in the borders, in the use of color. There's great repetition, texture. Of course, how can you look at this piece and not see the texture, pattern, variety? There's lots of variety in here, yet all the colors in the piece relate back to the imagery. They're all tied and they have great unity of color. And that's the hierarchy of organization. Some people say that as artists, we are always making sense out of chaos. I like that phrase. It's kind of severe, but if you think about it, when we sit down to do things, either working with clay or with cameras or with brushes or even, you know, the way we knit fabric together, we start with an idea, but that idea doesn't exist yet. It exists in chaos. And we take our materials and we form it together to make sense or organization out of chaos. And we use our tools, our repetition, our hierarchy, unity, color balance, things like that, to bring organization and to make our statements. So this piece is a wonderful piece that demonstrates those qualities, and that's why I gave this another honorable mention. I'm going to trade pages here for a second. Next honorable mention goes to, sorry about that, goes to Sue Fody, if I got that right, for Snowshoe Pike, and it's in the other room. Let me get to my notes here. I'm going to put them right here because I think I can spot them and not rustling paper. This piece in the other room, first thing I saw about this piece was when I went in and I viewed the room, the great color that's in this piece. I'm in love with these colors. The purples and blues. It's a snow scene, and it has a path of some kind that works from the lower right-hand corner to the upper right-hand corner. And the use of line and the use of texture within the piece lead the viewer to that back top corner. Use of vertical lines, the trees in the piece, there's a mastery to this, because great, this is wonderful. Thank you for doing that. If you look at, thank you for doing that. That's awesome. Great idea. The colors, first of all, look at these colors. Look how beautiful these colors are. I love the blues. It says winter, but it is cold. It's inviting. And this is what I was talking about. Look at these lines that are coming up into this part of the painting here. And then these shadow lines cross, but they intersect, and it brings movement to the whole piece. It's almost a circular experience, a visual circular experience. Now, one of the things that I noticed about this that I really love, look at this shape here, and look at this shape here, and look at this shape here. All three of these shapes have different either colors or In this case, it's a white, light versus dark kind of thing. It's a little dark back here, but this is different from this, and this is different from this, and the scale change. She is using, to make sure I got that right, she's using a scale change within the piece to create rhythm and movement. And it's subtly done, because if you don't really look at this piece, I hope you don't get too tired of holding it. If you look at this piece, you'll see that. But that movement is what draws, one of the things that draws that eye to back through the piece. And that is what makes us, look at this. Look at this movement right here. This is almost like a thick line that just goes back into this shape right here. Use of white in this, white space. I'm a watercolor painter, so we work with, in my medium, we try to save white space. It's not a golden rule, you don't have to, but if you can save some white space, it just punctuates some of the other things that you're saying. Creates drama, creates ins and outs, or that rhythm. That's what's going on in this piece. Look at the rhythm going across the top here. Each one of these shapes across here is just a little bit different. There's variety or transition in the purple color, and again, it creates movement. So there's great movement, there's great unity in color and unity in shape. Rule of thirds, I put that down. I think of what I meant to say was three items, not rule of thirds. The rule of thirds would be breaking the space up into thirds. And I really see this as two simple shapes, this purple shape and then this white shape in the background, which makes the construction of the piece. But probably the biggest key to this is the movement of the eye and color. It's just a gorgeous piece, and that's why I gave this an honorable mention. Now we're going to keep him busy, because the next piece, which is our third place piece, is called Rain in the Valley by Paul Nadu. And that is in the other room as well. Now, I'm going to use the term mood, not moody, mood. The thing that where color attracted me to the last piece we saw, this piece is a landscape that is it's designed around the idea of rain in the valley, and the artist has used muted tones. It's a tonal, I believe it's a tonal painting. Until we get the painting out here, hopefully it's coming out. I believe it has mostly use of secondary colors, grays, neutral secondary colors, but the artist uses these to create mood. It also has the feeling. It's called Rain in the Valley, but I can feel this rain approaching. And if we all live here in Colorado, we can see storms coming before the rain actually hits us. Can't wait. Big sky country is what we're called. Now, there's a couple of things. First of all, I really love this large shape at the top here. I see this as having maybe three simple shapes. This large shape at the top, this dark shape in the center here, and then the foreground shape. So there's a triad of major fundamental shapes in the piece. Use of white. Look at this. We have an odd number, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 white spaces, or it's white paint, but we have these 5 white glimpses of lit area of clouds, but they're light shapes. But they create this energy around here. And then the brushwork on the actual clouds where it's raining creates this little reach. Now, if you just look at that brushwork is brilliant. It just really pulls my eye down here, and then I met with this shape down here, and then I have this tree bringing me back up. So I have this movement that's taking place in the composition of the piece. I was wrestling with what I would call this, what type of composition. I'm going to say that this is more of an O-shaped composition. Usually O-shaped compositions are reserved for things like tunnels, archways, things like that, where you put the center of interest right in the center of the tunnel, and it's a composition device. Well, if this big mass and the whites up here, this counter action happening is bringing my eye into this area here. That's why I feel like it's an O-shaped composition. But I just love the verticals leading, and then the rhythms within this piece that lead my eye around. Hierarchy of color. My color is in this dramatic shape here. But again, look at these colors are all very muted. They're gray. I think that sets the tone for the idea of a rainstorm. You know, this muted environment. Contrasting shapes. I've got well-defined shapes here, ethereal shapes up here. Just really nice piece. And that's why I gave this the third place award for the show. Now I think we can all relax. Because the other two pieces are in this room. Second place, this goes to Mary Wicks for Terra Terminal, and that's this piece right back here. This is just, I just love this piece. I love all these pieces. I love this show. But look at the planning that went into this piece. Just a very thoughtful piece. Every line in this piece, these lines right here, this line right here, the lines within the structure itself, every one of those lines all bring my eye back to this area of the painting in some way, shape, or form. Either I'm transported up here into this swooping shape here, again, same thing here, or this line brings me up where I'm intersected with those moving lines again, but there's great rhythm or movement within the piece. And then the dark shapes in the piece. I'm talking about here and here, even here. They're all different. They're all different iterations, but they create this nice rhythm and repetition. Mary, I don't know if I would suspect you did, but let's just talk about this piece. This piece has a vignette. This background shape here of the sky is acting as a vignette. Now, the reason why I say it's a vignette touches two or more sides of a piece, and it provides a function. The function of the vignette is to push the subject out at the viewer. So it is a device we use in painting, or you can do it in sculpture too, but we create this shape in the background that pushes or the subject toward the viewer, and it says, this is what I want you to look at. And using vignettes is a really a great tool. But look how subtle this is done. Mary, your use of color up in that vignette, there's lots of transitions within that space, from purple to blue. It is a sky shape. I'm not trying to say it isn't a sky shape, but it's acting as a vignette. Very well done. Emphasis. Look at the geometry of this piece alone just catches me, and it makes me want to try to understand it, try to figure it out. Each of these little sections of color distributed throughout the piece. This band of blue coming in, use of purples. We've already talked about the rhythm dynamic within the piece, the movement within the piece. And to me, as a painter, this is a very ordinary scene that's done in a very extraordinary way. And that makes it very interesting to me. Contrasting shapes all over the place in this piece, and that's why I gave this second place. Now for the best of show. Anyway, I hope you're enjoying these pieces as much as I did. Best of Show goes this year to springtime in San Juan's. Teresa Mahoney, did I say it right? I'm working on that for 2 weeks now. Then that piece is right back here. It's a small, petite little painting that just has a lot of big story to it. I want to talk a little bit, just a little bit about shapes. There are some very simple but elegant things you can do with shapes. And shapes are maybe, besides color and some of these other terms we've been talking about, shapes are probably the most important things that we deal with as visual artists, either looking for shapes with a camera or designing shapes as a sculptor. We're always looking for and trying to maximize our understanding and our presentation of shapes. 3 things you can do with shapes. Probably there's 4, but I'll say 3 for right now, and if I think of the 4th one, I'll bring it up. We can interlink shapes, and that would be where we take an edge, like the edge of this cloud. See how it makes a jaggy side to it? And that jaggy side interlinks with the blue of the sky. What that does is it takes 2 shapes and it ties them together in a way that they can't be separated. Creates unity, a bonded unity. Another thing we can do is we can overlay shapes. And this tree mass right here is overlaying this shape right here, this rock shape. So we can overlay shape. And when we overlay shapes, we give depth to the painting, just by the way we're working with shape. Another thing we can do with shape is we can embed shapes. This little dark spot right here, or these dark spots in the granite wall or whatever, those little dark spots are contained inside that larger shape, this larger shape of this dark mass. That's called embedding. We can also work with, we've already mentioned scale tonight, but we can work with things that are similar, but we can make them have different scale. Like in these trees, this tree is larger than this tree and this tree, and that change of scale creates rhythm, a visual rhythm. Now, what this piece has done, what the artist has done here, is we have this shape right here in the foreground, and then we have this shape coming up here, and we have this dark mass, and then we have the crown of the rock formation, we have the clouds, and we have the sky. All of these shapes are interlinked and working into each other. This shape is coming down into here, this acts as a support, this shape is coming down into here, so that we experience the depth of the painting at the union of those shapes and the way you've handled value, darks, lights, and how it punches out. But what I really love, so I love all of that. And then we have this really wonderful use of white paint across the top to illustrate the snow on the mountains. Have you ever tried to paint mountains? Have you ever tried to paint snow on mountains and make them convincing? Have you ever tried to do it in watercolor? It's even harder. What I'm saying is, Teresa, you just did a great job. It just lifts off the page when I look at it. I really enjoy the light because it draws me into the painting. It wants me to really look at that and experience that little subtle thing here. Again, the artist may not know they're doing this. I mean, they may not be saying, I'm going to make this cloud, I'm going to make it do this. They may not, but they feel it. This little movement of that shape coming around like this brings me back to that edge, which brings me back down here, and then this dark brings me up here. There's great eye movement in this piece. It's all got a hierarchy of value, hierarchy of color, and the shapes are integrated in a way. They create unity, and they create the story of this scene. And how many of us have seen this scene and just automatically relate to it? This is a beautiful piece. Well done. Congratulations. The last thing I'd like to say is just thank you for giving me the privilege of being able to do this with you. This is a great show. I hope you really enjoy looking at the pieces here, there's so much variety, and I really enjoyed being part of this. Anyway, I wish you another 64 years. Thank you.